You ever wondered where Bruce Lee gets all that power from? You ever wondered what types of muscles were involved?
I mean, you gotta put the whole hip into it
and how it is actually done?
And snap it and get all your energy in there.
Or how is it humanly possible to get so much force? And have you ever wondered what the most important part from that whole punch actually is? In this video, I'm going to explain to you what I think is the most important part of the punch, which muscle groups are involved. We're going to talk about Newton's cradle, we're going to talk about kinetic chain, and we're going to cover Bruce Lee, the inspiration himself in general. Stay tuned, let's go.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water.
Okay, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. Bit of a gloomy day here in Upper Manhattan. The sun is certainly not shining today, but we're going to keep on. I hope everyone is doing well. Shout out to all the subscribers. Big up to anybody new. And this video is about Bruce Lee, the man himself, an inspiration, one of the most iconic martial artists in the world.
To express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself.
An adored man, a beloved man.
Can you break 5 or 6 pieces of wood with your hand or your foot?
I'll probably break my hand and foot.
Enter the Dragon was one of my favorite movies growing up as a young kid. Still is today, to be honest with you. But I was watching some Bruce Lee clips the other day, and I thought to myself it'd be a good way to, introduce beginners to the science. This channel is about teaching beginners, and I wanted to, just elaborate a little bit on where the power comes from, because it's very important. If you're practicing on the bag by yourself, or if you're shadow boxing, understanding science in boxing is crucial. Okay, it's called the sweet science. Now, you may not be able to perform these moves, but understanding them straight away will help you, and then in the long run you'll be able to perform them. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless.
Okay, so I'm talking about the 1-inch punch, right? If you haven't seen that, you must have had your head buried in the sand for over a century, because it is one of the most, if not the most iconic punch in martial arts history. Okay, performed by Bruce Lee, who was, by the way, a boxer at one time. Okay, in the late 50s, he performed Chinese boxing amongst dozens and dozens of other styles from China, Hong Kong specifically. But if you watch and read his Wikipedia, he covered everything, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit more later on in the video, so check out for that.
Running water never grows stale, so you got to just keep on flowing.
In terms of how this punch actually happened, now look, Bruce Lee is a super freak athlete.
I mean, you gotta put the whole hip into it and snap it.
Okay, and I'm watching this over and over. There's just some things that don't make sense to me, okay? Because I'm like, how on earth did he do that? But there's some things that do make sense to me, okay? After, being kind of involved a little bit in doing some scientific videos myself and reading a bit about it, I thought it would be an interesting video to make, because there are some elements that I understand, what I'm going to explain to you right now. Okay, one being a kinetic chain. Okay, now what's a kinetic chain? Okay, that is an alignment, okay, and a transfer of force or power or energy through your body. Okay, so if you watch closely where Bruce Lee starts, when he's standing like this, okay, it's the foot. Okay, that is the most important part and functioning piece of the body, part of the body, that in this whole punch. Okay, nothing else, in my opinion. I would love to hear from you if you can challenge that. I'm all ears. But the foot, let me explain. The foot is what drives and what starts the kinetic chain. Okay, so he's on the ball of his foot. You might not be able to see it because his gi is covered his leg. I'm going to try to do my best to highlight some of these the movement, but he turns his foot, and he's turning the ball of the foot, and he's using the ground as his friend, basically. All right, power punching. You have to have a good relationship with the ground. In order to push off from it. Now, a lot of boxers do this, okay? Especially when you're jabbing, bop, you're gonna push with the back leg, okay? So obviously the way his body is, okay? I think it's a certain style of karate it is. I'll leave the message down here. It's definitely not just karate, but his body is aligned specifically for the travel of the kinetic chain, okay? To come from his toe, where he pushes it, to push here, okay? And it travels through the body. Each joint has a responsibility moving up through each joint, okay? And then the weight, the energy transfer ends up here, okay? So remember in science class, right? The Newton's cradle, yeah? Those 5 little balls, okay? Think of it like that, okay? When all the balls have to be connected together for the end one to move up, okay? Now, if there's a disruption in the middle, let's just say ball 2, 3, or 4 is like wobbling around, then the energy, the connection is broken, okay? So it's the same with here. If my arm suddenly, if all the transfer from my leg comes through and then my arm is just not working the same way, you're going to lose that power, that transfer, the energy. So that has to be perfect, and it is perfect if you watch the video, okay? He's like this. The start with the ball of the foot, bam. Another thing he's doing is using all muscle groups, okay? All the muscles in his legs, all the abdominal muscles, okay? All the muscles here in his arm, and they're contracting, okay? And they're twisting like that, okay? Bah! Okay? Especially in your forearm here, you got the wrist flexors and the wrist extensors. You got the wrist flexors and the wrist extensors. And then you obviously got the biceps, you got the triceps, you got the brachialis. I'll write that down, but it connects the elbow, okay? So muscle under here. And all together, when they twist, okay, like that, it creates more force, okay? So you put together the spring from the foot, the transfer of weight, kinetic chain all the way through the body, all these muscles tightening up into one explosion of, you know? That's how he gets the power. Another thing I forgot to mention is it's the movement here, okay? So he's getting a lot of these deltoids, the trapeze muscles, okay, on the back as well, and boom, like that. But because he's a super freak athlete, because he's Bruce Lee, and because he's probably trained his whole life and dedicated his whole life to doing what he's doing, and some, you know, just God-given ability, that's how he gets so much power. You know, technique, of course. Technique has to be perfect. His base, okay? Even the front foot has a part to play, okay? If his base is a little off, it doesn't set the connect chain off right, okay? You have to be, for example, if I'm a little bit leaning too far back, if I'm leaning too far back on my back foot, I can't push back as much. It's all physics, okay? I can't push back as much because I'm like back center, okay? So I have to compensate and push more. But if I'm in the middle like this, boom. Okay, so how does this pertain to beginners, and why am I making this video? Because this channel is really trying to dedicate tutorials for beginners. I'm going to cover some punch technique as well moving forward, stuff like this. But it's really important to know the importance of science in boxing, especially for beginners, because you can help understand it when you're on the bag, okay? Understand it is the key term. The way I teach is, you know, I try to push my clients, you know, I really do. I want to see if they can do it. And then maybe if they can't, then I'll ease back. But I try to make people do the things that they might not think they can do themselves. What? I try to make people do the things that they might not think they can do themselves. You know, I really want to get the best out of everybody that I train, and I'm only going to find that out when I try to push them in a certain way. And you know, if they can't do it straight away, I'll ease off. But if they'll start to understand parts of it, okay? It's kind of like looking at an equation, right? If I looked at an equation, I just think, what the hell? I'm like, I don't get it. And I probably might not ever get it, but eventually I'd start to understand it. The more I looked at it, the more I read it, the more I deciphered it, okay? But dropping the little subliminals here and there is important. And for beginners, if you're listening and you're watching, understanding science is important, okay? So if you're on the bag and you feel your weight and you're pushing off from the back foot, that's important to know, and you can practice that. It's important to know that all your muscles together and the balance and the base that you have play a massive part in the amount of power you generate and the amount of technique, okay? They play a massive part. So it's really, really important to understand that, even if you can't fully perform it, okay? I'm not asking you to perform it, just let it sink in here, let it be subliminal, and then in the coming weeks and months and maybe even a year, you'll go, oh, yeah, I get that, it's easy. You know, so that's all it's about. You know, one of Bruce Lee's favorite quotes, or most, known quotes, is,
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Like that, you see?
Yeah, I see. I get the idea.
Be water, my friend. I love that quote, okay? You know, what's he talking about? What does he mean, okay? He's talking about adapting, okay? He was someone that didn't believe in one style, okay?
You see, actually, I do not teach, karate, because I do not believe in styles anymore. Because style is a crystallization, I mean, that way, it's a process of continuing growth.
And that's important to know, because it's like adapting, and in life too. Mind, body, and soul. It gets a little esoteric, I don't fully understand what he means totally, but in terms of adaptation, and the water just adapting to whatever it is and flowing, martial arts, self-defense, boxing, all of that stuff, okay? You look at some of the great fighters, okay? Floyd Mayweather, he could adapt. He had different styles. He didn't just use the Philly shell system. He could high guard someone, he could counter punch, he could box off the back foot, he could walk somebody down. And I think that's what Bruce Lee is referring to a little bit in terms of in the ring or martial arts, but with regards to, just life in general, adapting and flowing and not being too stubborn with something and sticking to all and not adapting. For example, if I'm climbing Mount Everest, right, and I'm like, oh, I'm tough, man, I'm not going to wear any gloves. Well, then you're not going to end up with any hands. You got to be a bit smart and adapt and think, okay, maybe it's going to be sub-zero. Maybe I should just get prepared instead of being overly stubborn. Maybe that's not the best example, but hopefully you know what I mean. Anyway, look, that is it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Hit a comment in the section if you have anything to say on this subject. Hit the like button if you do. I've got loads more content coming. We're going to do this. This year is going to be great. Next year is going to be even greater. Boxing on the Edge. Peace and love. I'm out of here. Crazy, right? Right now I've got an injury, okay? It's on the back here. I pulled a muscle in the gym the other day. It's driving me crazy because I want to work out. But the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, even when I'm turning there, okay, I can feel that on the back here. Now, I wasn't able to feel that when it's not injured, but because it's more delicate, I can feel it. So the back of my other arm is actually working in the process, okay? So that just tells you how many muscles are involved that you might not even know, okay? It might be 1% of this, 5%, but as I turn that, I can feel it, okay?
And get all your energy in there and make this into a weapon.
boxing.
On it, on it.